Oh, well, too late.
What?
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And we are the Pettifords, and we're here this morning to get back to it, to get back to the work at hand. We're talking to you about the things that are relevant to your life and to your relationship. So we want to let you know that we're live right now. So we want you to let your community know. So say something, woman. Say something, woman.
I'm sorry. Like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell, y'all. That way you won't miss a show. Listen, this is a real life show. Sometimes things happen. I'm not even logged on. I can't even see, okay? But we have to start when we have to start. So, guys, make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do you want this type of a message to go to the four corners of the earth? Yes, you do. So make sure you help us out with that, okay? Do that every day. And even when we're not online, make sure that you're sharing it with your friends and your family.
Guys, we're talking about an important topic this morning. My spouse hit me, now what? And we felt compelled to do this because from time to time we have clients that are in these situations, and we try to navigate them through what's necessary when faced with this situation, because so many people are seeking the right advice, but they're getting the wrong advice from the wrong people. And they wind up in situations that could actually be worse. And so we want to broach this topic today. We'll see where it takes us. We may do a part 2, part 3, because I'm telling you, it's a major thing that people really have to give considerable thought to, because there's so many things that are at risk. But before we get started today, we want to know who you are, where you're chiming in from, what part of the world, so that we can acknowledge you. As mentioned before, we're excited because this October we have an amazing event that we do not want you to miss. We're going to show a quick video, and then Danielle's going to come back and unpack it for you. Stay right there.
Hey family, Hassani and Danielle here, and I want to tell you about the Phoenix Awards Gala happening on October 7th, 2023. Couples Academy is hosting its first annual Phoenix Awards Gala, a celebration of perseverance, patience, and persistence, focused on couples who have endured and overcome significant hardships in their marriages.
Nominees of this prestigious award will have come to the brink of destruction in their marriage without giving up, and are living a testimony to what is possible when two stand as one.
This is no ordinary gala. We are honoring 5 of the most resilient couples across the U.S. and abroad. And here's the most exciting part. You get to pick our nominees. And there's more. Wear your most exquisite gowns and black tie ensembles and prepare for a 50-foot red carpet, cocktail reception, dinner, live music, and dancing. We're going to raise the roof and the standard for marriages on October 7th, and we want you to be there.
For tickets, go to couplesacademy.org/events.
Yes. And the nominees are, I don't know. We need you to let us know. So we need your help, guys. This is going to be such an amazing event, one of a kind. Nobody's doing this. Nobody is raising a standard for marriages anymore, and we're going to be the ones to do that. But we need your help. And so we need you to go out into your communities and you get those stories. Tell us who you think would be a great nominee. We do have categories. We are looking for a category, someone to fill the category for a clergy, military. We have an influencer category, and you can find out more about this by going to couplesacademy.org/events, and you'll see our event is right there on that events page. Click it, read up all about the categories, and start nominating. I know there's somebody in your community that you know has been through it, but somehow still they're standing. We want to know about those people.
So it's going to be an event that I am so excited for. We're going to be looking good. We're going to be
the gowns. Come on. I want everybody to come through with your black tie. I mean, what do y'all wear? I mean, everything is a suit for y'all.
Black,
Can you put tips on your shoes and all that? Is that, no, we don't put tips on the shoes or anything like that?
Tips on the shoes?
Yeah, you know those like little collar things that they used to put on the shoes to like zhuzh it up and.
Like in the 90s?
Yeah.
This
No,
is
no, it was really like probably the 70s. But
Yeah.
whatever you gotta do.
I didn't have a pair of those.
Whatever you gotta do to look like the best, because there is going to be a competition. We are going to award somebody who is coming out there stepping out. But
Yeah.
the gowns, the lady's going to come with the gowns because there's going to be that 50-foot red carpet that you're going to take all those pictures on. So it's going to be exciting.
It's funny. A couple of days ago, I posted something on social media and talked about the struggle that we were in and how I, did whatever I had to do to overcome the challenges, to fight for the marriage, to endure. And so many people were coming at me talking about, you crazy. You don't take all that. I would have left a long time ago. You're weak. You're this, you're that. And so a lot of times you've stayed, right? And you've gone through hell, but you're still there. And you want to know, well, was it worth it? Well, we're going to honor those couples who overcame adversity when everybody else told them to give up, throw in the towel, call it quits. It's just not worth it. There's no changing. There's no turning around. But we've seen so much change and transformation in the lives of individuals and couples that has proven that it is worth it. So many people who have better marriages after their hardship than what it was prior to.
True.
And so we need to celebrate those couples, to honor them, to let them know that they weren't doing what they were doing just for themselves, but for the legacy that they live and the impact and the influence they have on generations to come. So it's going to be a magnificent, glorious evening that we want you to participate in.
Tickets are on sale now, so go to the website, grab your tickets, and then tell us who you think we should nominate.
There it is. All right, guys, my spouse hit me. Now what? Where do I find myself? What do I do? This is more common than you think. Now, there are degrees of this, and what we've seen is that, and I'll be honest with you, there's a double standard in society. If a woman beats a man, deal with it. Suck it up. You probably did something that deserved it, and so take it. If a man beats a woman, you need to get out. You need to imprison him. You need to end the relationship. Girl, I can't believe that you would ever do it. So there's this double standard. And I think that we need to get to the heart of this because there's a lot of confusion out there in terms of what is appropriate and not appropriate to do.
Agreed. I think there's so many elements to it, different personality styles and just different scenarios, why people decide, hey, is it worth it? How much of this can I take? It becomes dangerous when it takes a turn for the worse. And now my safety is at stake. And, I'm trying to stay in this relationship maybe for the kids or maybe for my finances or whatever the reasons are, but you are not safe and you are in danger and you just don't know what to do. Oftentimes you can't even go to the church. I remember a young lady years ago came to me telling me about her abusive relationship and how she went to the church and the pastor said, well, do you have a roof over your head? Is he feeding you? Is he taking care of them bills? Then you need to go back to your husband. And that's really just not a conclusive way to deal with all the different nuances of abuse. Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, if you are in an abusive relationship, so first of all, there are degrees to this, right? Because if we had an unfortunate situation and it's not characteristic of us and a verbal altercation, we just lost it in the moment and now I'm pushing and shoving you.
I'm like, you okay?
I mean,
that example push
I'm just
almost got you in trouble. Because what y'all don't know is that I fight.
So I push you.
Well, I used to fight.
Right, I push you with something like that.
Right.
I'm getting my licks in on the air because you can't do nothing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
push
like, what?
you.
Right?
I
wasn't expecting that push.
And so it's just like, what? Like, what in the world is that? And so, fine, you calm down, you talk through it. You come up with an agreement that would never happen again. That's a different scenario than we're in some type of argument and my rage and my anger takes over and now I'm punching and I'm wailing. Like, I don't know, there are degrees to this.
Well, I mean, I think that it begins with a shove. Okay, so now I got to share my story because I wasn't really going to share my story, but I think it begins with a shove. And I think that, people oftentimes will push you to the limit that you allow them to push you to. And, that same person who's doing all the pushing and the shoving and starting out like that because they're annoyed, given a different person in their life, would never even attempt to put their hands on that person. But it begins somewhere. And I was actually sharing with Hassani that somebody that I dated for years. And in the beginning of our relationship, I realized this person is abusive. They would punch holes in walls. This person would, break things. I remember he kicked a hole in my fish tank. I mean, and I had a big, remember back in the day when fish tanks were like the thing, and tore that thing all the way up. So that was violent. And I remember he would shove and he would push, never really punch or slap, but shove and push. But I grew up with 3 brothers, tussling and roughing, climbing trees. Also, I had an abusive upbringing. Like, I saw abuse in my home. My father was always attacking and fighting my mother. So I was accustomed to defending. And so I didn't just sit there and take his shoves and his pushes. I would push him back. I would hit, do all the things to defend myself. And it got to the point where I don't remember what it was, but he was very jealous. And we got into an altercation, and I remember that I pulled the fan out of the window, one of those big metal fans that, like, there's an exhaust. I pulled it out of the window, and I tried to slam it into his head. And I remember thinking, we were in a tussle, and I remember thinking to myself, if I had landed that, he would have been in some serious trouble. And so in that moment, I said, this is it. Like, if you ever raise your hands to push me, shove me, or anything like that ever again, we are done. And I meant it. And sometimes, that conviction is energy. It translates, and
Absolutely.
And I'm saying all this to say, we never had any other physical altercation after that. Like, that was a scared straight moment for both of us. I wasn't the type of person to take his pushes, take his shoves, take any of it, right? But if I was, then I do believe that his pushing and his shoving, his punching holes in walls, would have easily escalated to punching me in the face, to choking me, to doing whatever he wanted to do to me because I took it. I think because of who I was in my marinade and what I came from, he couldn't keep up. Do you know what I'm saying? He could not defeat, and so he wouldn't. So I think it's a warning sign to anyone. There is no such thing as, all he does is shove. There's no such thing as that. There is, he's shoving.
That felt really aggressive. That was real. See, I was playing with her. I was just revenge. Okay, proceed.
There's no such thing as, he just pushes me. He just slaps me sometimes. He just, puts his hands on me once in a while when he's really, really mad. No, it's the beginning, and you can already see what the trajectory is, and eventually he's going to be doing all the things that he wants to do. And so you have to be mindful of that, and that's what we want to talk about, because we got to start putting boundaries around things. First of all, not every situation is beyond repair. That's why we have anger management. Anger management, because a lot of people are angry and all they saw in their upbringing was, okay, I deal with things violently. That's not the way that I took it, but I can say, even as a child growing up seeing violence in my home all the time, I was accustomed to fighting. It wasn't nothing for me to fight. Maybe that's why I didn't ring alarms in the beginning when I was dating him. This is wrong, because all I saw was fighting. So I'm like, you gonna push me? I'm gonna push you back. You gonna try to hem me up? I'm gonna hem you up. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about what you've seen, and then also what you're willing to accept. So it's about really figuring out where is the problem here? What is the problem? Is this person struggling with anger management and doesn't know how to deal with his emotions or her emotions, and this is why they put their hands on you every time they feel frustrated? You see it even in parenting.
Absolutely.
It goes across the board.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's not just horizontal relationships, it's vertical relationships as well. And so it's destructive, because when you do it to your children, to your point, you saw that in your home. So that's what made you accustomed to be able to defend yourself. And you could have been the one who said, you know what, I'm going to be the aggressor. I saw it in my home. I guess this is love. This is what happens in committed relationships.
Right.
So I'm going to bring this marinade into my marriage and attempt to do that. But she knew better. She knew when she got with this one that it would never go down like that.
First of all, I wasn't that one. So it's not like I was a violent one.
Right.
But you get the point. Like, what he's saying is accurate too, even though he's joking. But what he's saying is accurate is that, like, depending on who you're with, determines it's like they test. And I don't know if it's consciousness. I don't know if they're consciously testing, or they just are being who they are and seeing how much you will take. And that's the big difference there. With Hassani and I, there was no reason for me to have to defend. I didn't have to have my dukes up. But with this dude, I did have to have my dukes up, and I was ready.
So we're going to talk about this, because physical violence, domestic violence is a very serious thing. In fact, ask a police officer. When you have conversations with police officers, they will let you know that some of the scariest situations that they will ever have to encounter either would be when they pull someone over and they have to approach a car, or when they're called to a domestic violence situation in someone's home. And so many police officers have suffered physical harm and have even died in scenarios because you have two individuals who are at war with one another, and as a consequence, that police officer who's coming to intervene, to separate, to quell the issue, becomes a victim of the aggression between this couple. And so it's a very, very, very serious matter. And so if you're experiencing this, we need to have a conversation. Like, just don't rely on what we're sharing in this video. You need to seek help. So we're going to be talking about how people react when they are hit in their marriage and what we would advise you to do. Anyway, you're watching the Couples Academy show. Stay tuned. Be right back, and we're going to get into a whole lot more.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app,
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about a very serious topic today. My spouse hit me. Now what do I do? First, we want to dive into what are the typical reactions that people have when they are hit. And let me just tell you something. If you think that it is just women being hit out there, you will be sadly mistaken. There are so many men. I tell you, when we do our last chance weekends, when we do our Foundry group, when we have closed conversations with men, you will be shocked and surprised how many women are popping off, not just at the mouth, but with these hands. And so physical violence has become a very normal thing in relationships today, and people are very silent on the matter. There's a hush, if you will, to this type of behavior. And because it's one of the major ingredients in their relationships, it's the reason why there's such toxicity. There's a reason why it's hard to rebound and make it back. And they're pleading for help and just don't know what to do. But when you've been doing something long enough, it is what it is, what it is. You don't feel like it's as bad as what it really is because it's become a normal part of the process. But let's talk about the mindset of the one who is being hit and the reaction that they have to the physical blow. Oftentimes, many victims of physical violence or abuse consider themselves to be the blame or the cause of the action. They feel as if somehow they deserve the punishment. So, classic example, I cheated on you and now you continue to wail on me. It was my fault. I'm the reason why you're doing it. And so therefore I take it. And we've seen this on both sides of the fence. Typically men justify the behavior because of what they did that created the reaction, and many people feel justified in doing it. But the reality is, no matter how much I hit you, it's not going. There's no amount of hits. There's no force in my mind, if I'm the hitter, that I feel will balance or match or equate to the devastation that you've done to me when I've cheated. And so if that's the case, if that's what we truly believe, that I can hit, punch, scratch, kick, do whatever I want, and it'll never make up for what you've done, then when will the behavior ever stop?
I mean, that's probably a rare case where somebody's saying, okay, you cheated on me, now I'm going to start beating on you, because, if beating somebody isn't in you, I don't care what you go through, it's usually not going to show up on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody has been cheated on, they don't become an abuser, right?
No.
Typically, right? So typically what happens is they were already abusing, right? They already abused. They were already slapping. They were already hitting. And they continue the beating. And now they're justified in their beating because they were cheated on.
Well, sometimes, to your point, in a relationship, there is nothing that caused, like the marinade was in them,
Correct.
maybe in previous relationships. So to your point, someone who cheats on you can't make you who you're not.
Correct.
But the pressure that you face in your relationship forces out of you what was already in you.
Right.
So if it wasn't in your existing relationship, it came from somewhere. And so now I'm going to, now we're going to get it because you pushed this out of me. You took me to that space. But we see this justification, right? Okay, I did it, I'm wrong. Or let's just say it's not infidelity, because it's not always the case. Maybe I didn't cook his food right. Maybe there's a chronic behavior that my spouse doesn't like. There's an idiosyncrasy that I have, or a habit that gets on my spouse's nerves, and it's my fault if I just change or if I just do better. So I'm responsible for these actions that take place.
Absolutely.
And what happens is you're giving your spouse in this situation, you're giving your spouse permission, and you're teaching him or her how to treat you, because of the mindset that you held on to. I don't care what you have done. It does not warrant someone to physically harm you and to do it into perpetuity. It's just a devastating thing that can destroy. But then the second situation is, and to your point, more in alignment with your story, you hit me, and my reaction is, okay, you gonna hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. And so now we're in a back and forth scuffle. And either that person gets the lesson and it never happens again, or now like an Ike and Tina situation, because she got to the point where she couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
But you know what? When she went toe-to-toe with Ike, I think that was the last time. It was the last time because she left. She was just like, before I leave, I'm tagging you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but some couples, literally, we talk about the sufferer marital pattern. It may look like different things, but for some, it is a very aggressive, abusive relationship that has lasted for years.
Yeah.
And you see all types of bruises and broken bones and, makeup being applied to cover things, people wearing glasses, all types of stuff. And the world can see. They think they're hiding their mess, but the world can see it.
So again, it goes back to your marinade, how you handle the situation, right? Because for me, I grew up where I saw my mother and my father fight. I didn't see my mother get slapped around or beat up. I saw crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. He was probably stronger than her, so he was probably overpowering her most of the time. But I saw her fighting back. So I guess that part right there, depending on how you grew up, and then who did you meet? You know what I mean? Like if you met somebody who they have inner aggression and they were beat up all the time, and that's how you deal with things. You fight, or you beat somebody down. And then you come into a relationship and you never, ever saw violence, or maybe you saw your mother just get slapped and she would just go in her room crying, holding her face, and she never retaliated. See, all these things matter as to how you're going to respond when you're in a scenario like that, right? So it's hard to pinpoint this is why it's so important to get into a counseling session, to actually talk to somebody about what's going on in your scenario. Nobody can say, oh, you're in an abusive relationship, you need to do this. Nobody can tell you that. Nobody can really judge your situation because they don't know you. They don't know your circumstances. They don't know your mindset. They don't know your spouse. They don't know his or her mindset. So there's too many elements that are at play here for somebody to just arbitrarily tell you what the heck you need to do. You really need to get a call in and get a session in so somebody can break down the situation and give you some really good advice on how to move. Because not every relationship, this is facts, not every relationship that has violence is beyond repair.
Yeah.
But then there are some that are, and then there are some that need immediate separation, immediate, right? So you really need to reach out so that somebody can speak into that and help you make a decision.
Now, the third reaction to the person who is being abused is to stay. Why? Because we've just said it. Financial ties. I can't afford to leave. I'm not in a position where I can take care of myself, or we have children, you know? And many people are committed to a 2-parent home, and they want to provide their children with what they possibly didn't have themselves, and they begin to justify and rationalize why they should be there. So they will endure the punishment, they will endure the abuse for the bigger picture of it all. Some people will not leave simply because they're scared.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy. In the book that I wrote several years ago, and if you don't have it, get it today. I don't care what your race or background is. The book is entitled Why We Hate Black Women and Why We Should Love Them. Now, it doesn't just apply to black women, but it is about them. In one of the chapters, I interviewed a woman who was in an abusive relationship for a number of years, loved him, protected him, covered him, endured all, until one day he lost his ever-loving mind and literally took out a gun and shot her 9 times. And she survived. How? Only by the grace of God. But he put 9 bullets in her body.
He was abusive prior to.
And then he was apprehended and killed, right, by the police.
Yep.
Because it was a very violent situation. It was just a horrific story. And I unpack it in full detail in the book. And, you know, it was just... And now she's able to live and tell the story and inspire other people to get out and not to allow fear to keep you trapped, because fear will ultimately potentially lead to your death if you don't do something
and
about it.
it's a big deal, that fear of the unknown, because I mean, what you mentioned about, you know, how am I going to take care of these kids, and sometimes you're financially relying on this person, right? But you don't have anyone to turn to. So you don't know that there are resources. You don't know that there's people already out there set up ready to help you do whatever you need to do. Also, you might just be afraid to exercise your rights, right? To exercise your rights of a separation and all the things that come along with that you would be okay. And so you just rationalize how it's just safer. It's easier for me to just stay and endure. I can take it. I'm strong enough. For the sake of my children, I'll just stick it out. For the sake of security, I'll just stick it out. For the sake of the unknown, fear of the unknown, or how will this person respond if I take action? You just decide to stay. And there are resources out there for folks.
And this is exactly why so many states have their own mandatory penalties for domestic abuse and physical violence, because there's so many people who will not tell, who will not leave, who will endure it. And so the state takes over and say, listen, we're going to make decisions for you that you don't have the ability to make for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the third reason. And then there's another reason why people, or another reaction, I should say, that people have to physical abuse. And that simply is, you know what, I can't tell, I'm not going to leave. And what they're doing is, they're protecting their spouse's reputation.
That is big. That is big.
If I tell, it will destroy my spouse, because he or she is a figure, an influencer, has a position of authority in the church, in the community, in entertainment. And I've got to protect the villain. I've got to cover the one who refuses to cover me. Because you actually do love
the villain. Like, you love the person.
Yeah, you love them.
You want them to be better. You want them to stop hating you. You don't want them to be destroyed. What you want is to be happy in your marriage and for it to be nonviolent. But you love them, so you're going to protect them from what other people don't need to know.
And if I tell, it's going to ruin his career. You know, he's in the military, I can't say that. He's in a position, I can't say that. And then if it ruins his career, it has an impact on us.
There's comments in here. People are chit-chatting it up. Michelle is saying that I was scared and couldn't afford to leave. And that's a big part of it. You know, we were just talking about it, like afraid of not being able to provide, and then God forbid having to go back begging and scraping to the abuser, now it's 10 times worse. Now they're really going to punish. So, I mean, these are the things that folks are dealing with, having to make these decisions. Is it, you know, if I count the cost right now, where I'm at, what I have going on, does it just make more sense for me to endure and kind of walk on eggshells and not disturb, not make her or him angry, right? Do all the right things, but there's just no way for you to do all the right things because this person is explosive, and it could be anything that sets them off.
Absolutely. Here's another comment. There's only silence when it happens to men. There's a lot of truth to that.
It's not only silence, but there's a lot more.
There's a lot of truth to that. A lot more silence. I mean, I mean, I don't really listen. There's more cases. Well, first of all, abuse is horrible. I've seen, like, I don't know a single man that I've worked with that has ever reported it, that has ever done anything about it. And when they come to us and share it with us, oftentimes they say, please don't bring this up. I don't want this discussed. I don't need to address this issue. It's my fault.
They just want us to know.
They just, right, they want us to know. And so it's damaging. And so we're going to talk about in the shows to come what the reaction should be, how you should approach these situations, because it's very, 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 very real. Man, there's so many comments in here, people resonating with what we're talking about because either A, they have experienced it, or they know someone who has experienced it, and not a lot of people are giving wise counsel. And I think what you said is true, Danielle, as we wrap up this show. Not every couple who's experienced this, it's not like they're beyond repair. There have been many situations where people have fully been healed and restored and transformed, and they're in much better relationships. But there are those others that you need to get out of town by sundown.
And say it, because that's the truth. There are some others that today you need to seek help. Today you need to get out. There needs to be a separation that needs to happen. And if that's you, reach out, because we do have resources and we can support you in that. But not every relationship that has some level of abuse is beyond repair. Sometimes we need some anger management. And the other thing that I want to say is that oftentimes the abused doesn't know how much authority they actually have. And if they knew how to exercise their authority over the situation, that spouse would get their tail into some anger management yesterday. So we only know the scenario about you if you reach out and let us know. So make sure you do that.
So guys, I appreciate you for sticking around. We're going to continue this conversation because we can't just talk about a portion and not the other. We are here to provide solutions. So stay tuned tomorrow as we go deeper into this conversation. Listen, make sure you go to the website. Make sure you register for the gala. It's coming up in October. Put it on your calendar. Make space. Get your tuxes. Get your gowns. It's going to be amazing. Also, Last Chance Weekend is the third weekend of the month, April, I think, 14th through the 16th, because the second weekend is Easter weekend. And we look forward to really imparting into the lives of so many couples as we've done this previous weekend. But love you guys. See you tomorrow for another great episode. Take care.